All right, guys, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. My name is Naijing. I'm the Director of Engagement and Partnerships here at Baret. So basically, all sorts of connections around the world with schools and universities and nonprofits. I'm taking care of that. I'm joined with Akshali, who is also in the partnerships team. Do you want to give a quick intro for yourself, Akshali?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, I'm Akshali. I'm from Aurangabad, India. Aurangabad is in the west of India, and I'm currently in New Delhi. I moved here about a month ago, and I traveled with Beret last year as a scholar in its inaugural cohort, and it was an incredible experience, and I liked it so much that I had to tell more people about it, and so that's what I do now with Beret. And I'm really glad that you've joined the session today to learn a little bit more. And yeah, that's me.
Thanks so much, Akshali. And Sophia's our current student. So we have two generations of Baret Scholars with us today. And she's currently calling us from Beijing. So if there's any Wi-Fi issues, maybe we'll just have to bear with a little bit. But Sophia, do you want to give a quick intro about yourself as well?
I'm Sophia. I'm 17 years old and Naijing has already explained, I'm currently traveling with Bray. I took a gap year right after high school because I was really drained and needed some time to think and decide what I wanted to do before going to university. I am going to go to Columbia next year to study political science. And yeah, it's an incredible experience, which I'm very excited to tell everyone about.
Thanks so much for that, Sophia. And we're very, very excited for you to start your new chapter after us as well. You've worked incredibly hard, and I hope you get to have a well-rested break between as well. Because it's been a lot of traveling and a lot of, you know, events and things happening around before joining your undergrad. I'm gonna start sharing my screen a little and I'll bring you guys through what Beret is, what we're doing here, who we're traveling with, and what we're doing in each location. And we'll have some time for questions at the end as well. So if you have any questions while you're hearing along the presentation, feel free to add this into the chat as well. We'll be monitoring the chat, so any sort of questions that you have, feel free to type it in, and at the end of the webinar, we can pick those up. Um, you can keep it as a little note while you're listening on as well. Okay, let me just share my screen real quick. So this is the route that our students are taking this year. You can see that we start off in New England during our orientation week, and that's a 1 week orientation to help our students build that cohort culture and jive together and get to know one another in more of a nature and cozy setting because we'll be heading out to some of the metropolitans around the world. So after orientation, they head out to New York, then to Sao Paulo, then Paris. They have a break in between, and then they head to Istanbul, Nairobi, New Delhi, and they're currently in Beijing. This is their first week. Is that right, Sophia? And they'll be heading to graduation in Hong Kong this year. So last year they graduated at the foot of the Great Wall, and this year they'll be able to explore a little bit Hong Kong. It's a great and wonderful place to be, and I'm glad that you guys get to explore that part of the world as well. So in each region, our students stay for 1 month's time. So it's 21 days in what we call home base cities, which is basically the metropolitan cities that is the hub for that region. So New York, Sao Paulo, Paris, for example. So after those 3 weeks, our students head to their fellowship cities. And this is basically a 1 week excursion that's focused on a specific topic. Now, in the home-based cities, there's a lot of things that happen from what we call morning programs to elective courses in the afternoons to advisory sessions. Our students also work on their capstone projects as well. So many things happen in between, and let's go through some of them. So, one thing that is kind of our base or our core of the home-based cities is our morning programs. So, this is our version of masterclass or workshops, and there's all sorts of different formats that speakers come in with. Some create an experience and performance for our students. So, for example, we had a sound ecologist that came in and talked to us in Paris. I didn't even know that that was a profession before I heard about him as well. And we had the biographer of the Steve Jobs biography, Walter Isaacson, to come and speak to us. We had the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Irgo Cornello, to come and speak with us. We had from politicians to let me just let someone in. From politicians to scientists to writers to singer-songwriters to directors, and sometimes our alumni also come back and speak with our students. So, Sophia, if you're in New York when our students come back, I'm sure they would be really happy to have an alumni speaker come as well. But in New York this year, our alumni speaker, one of them was Lindsay. So she was, along with a director that she was working with, that she actually met during Baret. So uh, about 2 years ago, Joshua Sofitel, he's a wonderful documentarian, came and speak to us about making documentaries. What does it mean to craft a story that is a real and breathing and living one? Um, Lindsay, one of our students, reached out to him afterwards. They started she started interning for him, and they were working on a short documentary together, and they actually screened this documentary in New York for our students. And I believe you guys were one of the first to see it as well. And about a couple of weeks back, I heard that this got this won the best short documentary for an Oscar this year. And I was just completely blown away by it because it's hard to say that an 18, 19-year-old was working on a Oscar-winning documentary. And I'm really glad that programs like this allow students that breadth because there's so much for students to tell, even at that age as well. And that's always something that I encourage our students to do as well, to make the morning program extend beyond that as well. It's not just that 1 or 2 hours that they're coming in here to speak, but it's also more importantly, the connections that follow as well. They follow you for your whole life, really. So after the morning programs in the afternoons, we have afternoon options, and this is our version of elective courses, but they're kind of like elective courses on steroids, depending on what you choose as well. So we've had students that focus on theatre design and research methodology and what are some of the other afternoon options? Sophia, did you take any afternoon options this year, and which ones come to mind for you?
So the afternoon options being offered this year are starting things with our CEO, which basically focus on like the logistics of building a company throughout the whole of the year. There's two politics AOs. I take one of them. It's politics and philosophy, and it's really interesting. We basically just like navigate through the different political systems of the places we're traveling to, and you like gain a deeper understanding of them, which is very cool to then see that manifest in the cities. There's filmmaking, which I don't take, but I know I regret not taking. Almost everyone's having such a blast with it. They make like different short films in all of the places we're going to. They're actually working with one of the morning program speakers we met in New York to make a like music video for one of our upcoming songs. There's also I don't know what else. Oh, there's photography. We're working on a photo book because everyone's like been carrying around cameras throughout like the whole journey. So we're making on kind of like this creative project that we can get printed in China so that we can kind of remember what everyone was doing. So there's a wide variety of things being offered.
Very cool. Thanks so much for Sophia for that. And so yeah, there's quite a wide variety in all sorts of fields as well, and it comes with the variety of specialities or focuses or expertise that our fellows have as well. So we have an art historian who has a PhD in art history from UCL, and we have our resident STEM expert, Wendy. She got her PhD at Cornell University in biomedical sciences as well. And we have a filmmaker, and that's the one that leads the filmmaking workshop, I believe, Ronan. So he also directed and he screenwrit from some of for I think it was 21st Century Fox and also for Netflix shows as well. So all of our fellows, who are basically our version of faculty, they travel the world with the students and also learn and teach alongside our students for this year. So after those afternoon options and morning programs, it's usually from Monday through Thursday, and all of our students have a long weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the long weekends for students, and oftentimes they do a lot of side trips outside of the city to all sorts of different areas. I remember the first year, every other weekend, our students were away somewhere exploring. I don't know if Sophia, you have a side trip that you remember that was quite that you kept in your mind.
Yeah, I have so many, honestly. Coming into Bray, I didn't expect myself to be traveling as much, like on the weekends, because I thought I was gonna be so tired. But some of my favorite ones, when we were in India, in Delhi, we went to Jaipur, Rajasthan for a weekend, and it was incredible. When we were in Turkey, we went to Cappadocia, we rented cars, and we like went around all of the different dunes and geological formations in Cappadocia. When I was in Zambia for fellowship, I took that weekend, which was only like a 2-day weekend, and we went to Livingstones to Victoria Falls, and some of my friends went like bungee jumping off of Victoria Falls. In Sao Paulo, we went to Rio de Janeiro. In Paris, I went to Amsterdam. Every single region, you want to explore more of the region. So you always end up doing something.
Yeah, and I think one fun thing is that you get to travel with friends that you make at Beret. And at least from the students that I hear from, that's one of the best parts of it. It's experiencing this world with people that you find kindering with. Yeah, absolutely. And then after those 3 weeks, our students head to a secondary city or a place, and that's what we call fellowships. It's basically a week-long educational expedition on a specific subject. So, for example, in South America, we had students that went to the Amazons, we had students that went to Patagonia, and really, depending on their interests, they can select what they're most fascinated about. Do you have a fellowship that you have that really stuck out for you during this trip? You're at the end of it, so I'm sure there's so many.
I do. I find it very difficult to decide which one is my favorite just because they're such different experiences, each of them. But the first one that comes to mind is Morocco, just because what I really enjoy from fellowships is there is no other way for you to get these experiences if you weren't traveling with Bray. So when we were in Morocco, we were in Marrakesh for 2 days and we were exploring that. But what was like amazing about it wasn't that. It was we went on this like 6-hour road trip to the Atlas Mountains to this extremely small village. It's called Sawiyat Ahansal. It's like at I think it was like 2,000 feet up in the air, and it's like it was just incredible. We stayed at this guest house with the chief of the whole village, and for 4 days we like did different activities with the people in the village in order to like get to know them better, get to know their culture better. They showed us how to cook, they showed us how to sew. We went on like these incredible hikes because you were like in the mountains having these experiences. Every single night we'd like climb up to the roof and look at the stars. The sky was so clear. And then like on the last night we had a party at the like Sheev's house, and he invited everyone who we had met at the village. And in 5 days, in the 4 days we had been there, like we had gotten to know people, and it almost like I felt so sad saying goodbye, and it was just like such an incredible experience.
That's so cool. And I can imagine, you'll be going to Columbia to do political science. And there's so much of the world that you'll be able to do, that you have seen, that will be able to inform your understanding of the theories that are taught in classrooms. I'm wondering, we're getting to the tail end of our presentation, so this is a good time if you do have any questions to, send any in the chat as well, and about logistics, about applying to the program, about health and safety. I know there are parents on the call as well, so feel free to send any questions on that as well, and we'll be happy to answer even visa logistics, anything that comes to mind. But one question is, what do you think about Beret has informed you about um, selecting political science? Was that something that you were pretty set on? Did what you experienced at Beret inform that? How did that bring you through that journey?
I do think it was an idea in my head that I wasn't necessarily set on, but that was definitely like ruminating inside of there. But Beret has like 100% helped me come to the conclusion that that's what I want to study. And it's exactly because I've seen so much of the world and I've interacted with so many incredible people. And like I just want to continue doing that. And I do think politics is the art of interaction and politics is the art of making changes. And I just my within politics, my interest is urban planning, the design of cities, which yet again relates very well to Bray because I've gotten to see all of these different cities. I can compare the way Sao Paulo is urban planned to the way Paris is and how people within those cities then interact with that same city. But
Mm.
if I want to go into urban planning, I think policy making is the first step to like um in that direction. And I just think like we've gotten so many incredible like political scientists and political speakers that have kind of made me go like that's what I want to do.
That's so cool. That's really cool. Does a morning program speaker come to mind?
Yes, well, I'm talking to this one guy who we met in India. His name is Arjun Bal.
Mm.
He runs this organization called Start India that essentially uses art, public art, to change spaces in order to create third spaces, public spaces for everyone within Delhi, within Bombay, within all of these different places in order to like and better people's lives and their quality of lives. And I'm talking to him right now because I really want to intern at his company. So he's definitely someone who comes to mind. In New York, we had this incredible speaker. He was the Undersecretary of Defense for the Obama presidency. His name is Rick Stengel, I believe. And he was just a very charismatic person, which always draws you into a speaker. But beyond that, he was just telling us about politics and the art of language within politics and how like the
Mm.
past elections might have been not manipulated per se, but um citizens had been made to vote against their economic interest because um like other issues had been put at the forefront of of the campaigns, and people had been compelled to vote in a way that maybe didn't benefit them because these issues were being prioritized. In Sao Paulo, Igor Carneiro, like I just have so many different speakers that I think have.
That is so cool. just listing those speakers are so insane to me as well. Just hearing their names and hearing what they've done and hearing your interactions with them. That's so cool as well. Another thing that I've heard parents ask as well is specifically about applying to uni during beret. So I know that for you, you applied to uni during beret. How was that to balance? What did the timelines look like? Did you do ED or not?
I honestly, applying to university while in Brit is the weirdest experience.
Could
Just
you
because
bring us
you
through that trajectory?
there's no time in the day. There's so many things you want to do, and then you like have to sit in your room with your laptop and just like have to complete all these applications you don't want to complete. But by the time I was applying, which was like December, more or less, to everything. I didn't apply to anything ED. Columbia was actually the only school in the US I applied to. Everything else was in Europe. By
Yeah.
the time I was applying to everything, I had almost regained this like intellectual spark that I felt like I had lost in my last year of high school with exams and with everything. So even though I didn't want to be applying to universities and I didn't want to be locked in my room doing all of these things, I was just so excited about what was coming the next year and so excited to kind of continue an intellectual journey that I feel like started in high school, but that I feel like really consolidated itself during this year. So even though it's hectic and even though my parents wanted to kill me half of the time because like I hadn't sent in a document or this or that, it did help in the end. Like doing Beret did help me with my applications and it helps so much when applying to universities. Like everyone really likes it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember two things that you mentioned. One is re-sparking that intellectual curiosity. That's such a theme that I hear from Baret Scholars as well. We had a call last week with Ali, one of our alumni as well. So hopefully you'll be seeing him in Hong Kong as well at the graduation. But he said that it reignited a reason of why he was doing college in the first place. Rather than it just being something that everyone did, he had an understanding of why he wanted to do the majors that he did, the curiosity behind it, the drive behind it, the passion behind it. And I feel like we are living in a generation of burnout. There's a lot of high school students after high school feel extremely burnt out. And one of the symptoms of burnout is a loss of purpose and passion, which is a really sad thing. And I see these themes when I'm talking to young people, and they're questioning why there isn't a strong why to their future or their reasoning behind it. And I'm just identifying this as symptoms of burnout. So that reignition of intellectual curiosity is a theme that I see, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that as well. The other thing that I hear as well is kind of the process of university application. We had a previous alumni, she talked about writing about her experience in the Amazon rainforest in her uh, personal statement and how that informed her choice to do environmental science at Duke, which she got admitted to at the end. She's doing environmental science at Duke right now, and she said that the way that she was able to write about biodiversity because she was in the elements in the Amazon rainforest with the local tribes members talking about contributing to biodiversity as human species, not just as disruptors of that, was so helpful. I wonder what was that like writing your personal statement? Were you able to use your experience at Beret at all? But what did that look like for you?
To me, I think it was different, but I did write about Brit. I'm Spanish, which I don't think I've said yet. And a lot of my interest in political science stems from the Spanish political system and stems from the current state of politics in Spain after a really long dictatorship, after a civil war, after everything. And
Mm.
when leaving for Bray, I was really excited to leave. I was done with Spain. I didn't even really feel that Spanish. And it is the moment you leave your home, it is the moment you leave your culture, you leave your tradition, that you're like, oh wait, I am Spanish and I really like my culture and I really like this. And it has been interacting with so many different cultures, be it with it like with the people in my cohort, like their identities, their context, their everything, and also the places that we've been traveling to, that I was able to compare my own identity and my own understanding of my culture, my politics, my everything, to then be able to talk about that in my personal statement. So in my personal statement, I was comparing US politics and Spanish politics and just all of these different things. And I think the level of understanding and the like assertions I was making, I got from leaving my home and being able to see everything with a different perspective.
Completely. I so agree with that. I remember, I've traveled around a lot in my life as well, and I remember leaving China when I was in China, I didn't feel fully Chinese because I felt like, oh, my Chinese isn't as good as I want it to be. And when I actually do leave China is when I'm like, oh, I am Chinese, and this is what I'm proud about in my culture, and this is why they make why culture or economics or politics dictates certain choices that is made. So completely agree with that. That's super cool to hear your perspective. Um, I, I want to open it up for any questions as well. I know that some people are just dropping in as well. So feel free to type your questions in the chat box, either for me, for Sophia, for Akshali, who's on the call. She's already done the full year now. Sophia's nearly there. She's basically a month away from ending. Yeah, feel free to type any questions in the chat box as well. Yeah, and one question about that as well. Did you do a capstone project this year, Sophia? And what's your thinking around that?
I am doing a capstone project. I still haven't finished it. I am almost there. But it has been a really cool experience, and I think it's added a lot to my year as a whole, just because I like I have basically been flirting with different capstone ideas throughout all of the year. When I was in New York, I thought I was gonna I thought I wanted to write articles about every single region we were in, and I wrote an article for New York and I wrote an article for Sao Paulo, and having those articles as like almost a driving force to the way I was experiencing those cities was really cool. In New York, I wanted to talk about homelessness and about the experience of homelessness with someone when someone was completely like employed uh as a whole, like not partially employed, not everything, because it's very common in New York due to like high rent prices, price the price of living, all of that. And because I had that in mind and I wanted to write that article, I went to a homeless shelter. I engaged in like conversations in parts of the city that I wouldn't have engaged with if I had just been like traveling alone without any kind of focus. And in Sao Paulo, it was similar. I wanted to write an article about Sao Paulo as a developing economy. And after one of the morning programs, I like asked one of the speakers for coffee, which is something I wouldn't have done otherwise. And we got into a really interesting conversation about economics. I ended up not doing that capstone, and then I started flirting with the idea of recording my year and making like YouTube videos for it. And even though that's not going to be my final capstone, I now have a bunch of vlogs for like all of my side trips, all of these really cool experiences that I know I'm going to want to look back on. And now I got an offer from a publisher over Christmas break because I was telling him about Beret. Um, and I'm writing a book about ethical travel and just like my experience as a whole. Um, Obviously from a very academic perspective, not being like this is what I think, but it has also been incredibly interesting because I've been speaking to hotel staff, all of the morning program speakers who had an interest in this topic. I've been able to talk to my peers, and just like look at the travel I've done for a year from a very, very different lens. So I think the one thing about capstones is they add so much intention to your travel.
Mm, absolutely. And I totally love the idea that you were flirting with different ideas and trying them out and actually doing it because the learning and the process of you doing those different avenues to test things out, you still have those vlogs there, you still have the articles there, you still have the experience visiting different parts of the city in all of its form. It's still there. And is the conclusion the book that you're going to write, that's going to be your capstone, or is the book something separate?
No, I would say that's going to be my capstone. As of right now, I'm doing a lot of research, trying to write everything down. And as to what I'm presenting at graduation, I'm probably almost gonna do like a research questionnaire with like it's gonna be something very interactive. But I almost want my capstone to continue after break because I'm not gonna have a set book by like the end of these 3 weeks, but no one is taking these experiences away from me, so I'm just going to continue it after.
Yes, and that's what a lot of scholars have done. A lot of scholars have continued their capstones after Baret. I know Kazim, he continued his after Baret, a scholar from our first year. I think he wrote a poem um, compilation. I know that there are people that have started ventures during Beret that continued. There was a person that started an NGO at Beret and continued. There's no reason to stop. Capstone is basically, it's not a final assignment, but it is what you said. It's a way to guide travelers, explorers, thinkers, scholars in an intentional way to experience the year. And that's exactly what you're doing. I love that. I love that for you guys. I'm going to give about 5 minutes time for everyone to ask questions. And if you want to unmute your mic and ask a question, feel free to do that. Akshali, if you have a question for Sophia, feel free to ask as well. And I'm also going to put my email in the chat just in case you have a question for me or for Sophia. I'm happy to pass that along as well. All right, just sent it in the chat. All right. Any questions for Sophia or for Akshali? Or Akshali, feel free if you have any questions as well. Or actually, Sophia, do you have any questions for Akshali since she's the alumni of the program?
Yeah, I would. Um, Looking back, what do you think, maybe what's your biggest regret and what do you think has stuck with you the most from the year?
I was thinking long and hard about the question I might want to ask you also because I wanted it to be something exactly like this, something that you might not, be able to find in the book. Um, But okay, my biggest regret is probably not doing enough expeditionary fellowships because we do one in each region. And it's always something really interesting and something I, for example, grew up in like this landlocked town. So there wasn't as much there weren't enough, interesting topographies to do something kind of like outdoorsy and adventurous. But just to give you an example of the kind of expeditionary fellowships we do, last year we summited Mount Kilimanjaro. This year we summited Mount Kenya. In North America, a group of us, I mean, unfortunately not me, but a group of us, they went kayaking down the low country in Charleston. And in China, for example, we did this fellowship where we explored like the architecture of the tallest bridges in the world. In India, people hiked in Nepal. In the Middle East, of course, people went to Cappadocia, but also to Morocco. So I think, and these are, and sometimes these are fellowships that really need for you to kind of like do this in a group. It's not something you would be able to kind of like do on your own because you are really kind of stepping out of your comfort zone, or at least for me, someone who's, just not who's kind of been a couch potato in Aurangabad, my hometown. So I think maybe not doing enough expeditionary fellowships. Um, and the thing that stayed with me the most um, is probably conversations I've had. And I used to be really struck by the extent to which I learned about so many things in conversations last year. Uh, this one time, I think we were just sat at a bus stop on our way from some town in the south in a southern Chinese district called Guizhou. And we were going to another town. This was on a fellowship. And we stopped somewhere, and I think we played just a game where like you name a country and people yell out the capital city. And I hadn't played a game like that in so long. And I realized that there's so much I don't know or I don't remember anymore. And every city that came up, someone would have an interesting fact or a story or a memory because it's such a diverse group. So I think just the osmosis of learning from really interesting people that you're traveling with, uh yeah, that probably stayed with me the most.
Love that. And I remember I saw when I was saying, oh, you have about a month left, I saw there was this look in your eyes, Sophia, and a part of me breaks for you, but also a part of me is like, oh, we did our job well. Um, and okay, we have a question from Sakina. What qualities have you seen in students who truly thrive in this program beyond just academic success? And maybe this is a question for the both of you as well. For your peers, what do you see are the ones that really, have their eyes light up or spark?
Sophia, do you want to go ahead
I
first?
think, yeah, uh, open-mindedness is the first thing that like really comes to mind. Um, Everyone who is thriving in the program, be it socially, be it academically, be it just like experiencing these cities, just comes in wanting to experience as much as possible. And it relates back to what Akshali was saying with the expeditionary fellowships. I had the same experience where first semester most of my fellowships were politics because that's my interest. And then second semester, all of my fellowships have been like hiking or just like completely different things because I like I wanted to have new experiences. And everyone is going to experience this year differently. Not everyone needs to go to every morning program. Not everyone needs to go to every single AO, but the students who really get something out of it are those students that want to experience is what be it from the people, from the cities, from the everything.
Yes, open-mindedness. Amazing. That's a great one. What about you, Akshali?
I think first, yes, you have to let yourself be kind of like changed by the places that you're traveling to and the people that you're meeting. And if you're not coming out of it, maybe, slightly just your opinion expanded, not if not necessarily changed, but just enriched somehow, then I think worldview is a better word than opinion. Then I think you're not really doing it right. So I think first you have to let yourself kind of like um, be open to being wrong. I think, and adaptability, I think, is a big thing because you're immersed in completely different environments, every 2 weeks on average. So I think the ability to adapt to that place, to situations that might arise on the road that can't be foreseen. But that's also where you kind of like get the most out of the program, is because it's just this like independent in a group, but also on some level an internal kind of like journey that you're going on, um, learning how to live on your own, trying to figure out, what you might want to do later on in life, the areas that you might want to work in, the kinds of things that you see in the world that you might want to change one day. So I think adaptability, being discomforted, and yeah, just being open to being proven wrong. Those are some of the things for sure.
That's amazing, being open to be proven wrong, which is so difficult right now, it seems.
Yes.
I'm online. It seems so difficult. And I love that big takeaway from Beret. We're just hitting up on time. Gia sent a really sweet message in the group. Thank you so much. Gia says that both of you, Akshali and Sophia, are very inspirational and hope you all the best in your futures. Thank you so much, Gia, for that sweet comment. And feel free to take my email. And if you have any further questions for Sophia and Akshali, feel free to message me and I'll definitely get you guys in contact as well. Um, Thank you all so much for joining. And Akshali, Sophia, thank you so much for bearing with the time zones as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. And thank you all so much. We'll be sending out the recording right after as well. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.